Hello and welcome back to the React to This podcast. I'm Marlena Shivo. Please pardon my son. And no, I am not talking about Hunter Biden. That story was so yesterday and the day before and the day before that. I am talking about Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News host, and he is Donald Trump's current pick for Secretary of Defense. However, he has come under a ton of scrutiny.
Pete has faced several accusations, including abuse, sexual assault, and more.
Yeah, there's definitely more.
Also, a leaked email from Pete's mom from 2018 that was published in the New York Times, and in it, she was critical of his past relationships with women.
And now Pete's mom is trying to save the day and save her son from being replaced as the nominee for Secretary of Defense. And she is explaining why she wrote the email back in 2018 to her son. And this part isn't as important, but can you just listen to the way Steve Doocy says Penelope Hegseth's name when he introduces her?
Pete's mother, Penelope Hegseth, joins us live on the set.
He kind of giggles.
You called us yesterday and you said you wanted to come on.
I did. I said I would do anything for my son.
This email you wrote in 2018, somebody leaked it to the New York Times.
Correct.
And they printed it. You say, I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, and sleeps around. And you go on and say, you are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is a sad, sad truth. You say, we still love you, but we are broken by your behavior and your lack of character. So why did you write that email in 2018?
Right. They were going through, Pete and his wife at the time were going through a very difficult divorce. It was a very emotional time, and I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions. We say things, and I wrote that in haste. I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent.
She's got a little bit of a Stepford thing going with that bright smile and that blonde hair.
About 2 hours later, I retracted it with an apology email, but nobody's seen that.
2018, like who had that email in hand and who leaked it to the New York Times? And if she wrote an apology email just 2 hours later, why wasn't that leaked to the media? And why didn't she come forth with that email?
Part of today is to discredit the media and how they operate. I really hope that you will not listen to the media and that you will listen to Pete.
I love how she just dogs the media and says, don't believe the media. Meanwhile, she is using the media to get her message out there. So which is it, Penelope?
Let me make two statements first, and one is to President Trump. And I want to say thank you for your belief in my son. We all believe in him. We really believe that he is not that man he was 7 years ago. I'm not that mother. And I hope people will hear that story today and the truth of that story. I am here to tell the truth. To tell the truth to the American people and tell the truth to the senators on the Hill, right, especially our female senators.
I mean, it would be conjecture to say that she was pressured into doing this interview, but I definitely think she was somewhat coerced to do this interview, pleading to President Trump and the women that Pete could be working around if he were to be confirmed.
You apologized? Mm-hmm. And you guys talked and you worked it out?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Pete and I are very close today. In fact, our whole family is very tight-knit. But I think that we as parents, we always parent.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little worried about Penelope because she might be surrounded by men in her family who she claims is very close-knit. And by close-knit, does she mean are keeping a close eye on everything she does? I think the most honest part of what Penelope Hegseth said was this.
My husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more. But
in this moment, Penelope, you need to blink twice. I don't know. It's tough to say. People do change over time. So 7 years ago, she was telling her son he needed to shape up. And now she is hoping to help her son's reputation. A mother's love knows no bounds, that is for sure. But the question is, will Donald Trump heed Pete's mom's message? Because also in the news is this.
Multiple sources telling CBS News that Trump is now considering replacing former Fox News host Pete Hegseth with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as his pick to lead the department.
I love that picture they used of Ron DeSantis. He's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to join the cabinet. I don't know. I mean, what does the Secretary of Defense do? I know how to ban books. What's the weather like in DC? I've got some really cool white rain boots I could wear. I just wanted an excuse to use that photo of Ron DeSantis.
Hegseth's nomination has been under major scrutiny. He's facing allegations of sexual misconduct and alcohol abuse. But listen to what some Republican senators are saying.
Some of these articles are very disturbing. He, obviously has a chance to defend himself here, but, some of this stuff is going to be difficult.
These allegations that have come up are a surprise to all of us. This was not something of which we were aware, nor was President Trump aware.
But why? Why doesn't Donald Trump know these things? Aren't you supposed to vet these people before you pick them? Isn't that sort of part of the process? First it was Matt Gaetz, and then everyone's like, no. And he's like, oh, okay, here's Pam Bondi then. I mean, who knows? This might play into another conspiracy theory, like Donald Trump picks these randos and people are not having it and the media goes wild, right? So on one hand, it gets him more press, which he can never get enough of, right? And then on the other hand, when he says, okay, I'm going to consider someone else, it makes him look like he's listening to his advisors and the other constituents. There was all this talk about him being a dictator and a king, but if he were a dictator and a king, he wouldn't listen to anybody, right? So if he just picks a bad person first and then has to replace them with somebody else as the nominee, it kind of debunks the whole dictator vibe and it kind of humanizes him, right? Or maybe he's just too busy dancing and he's like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You, get over here. You'll be my Secretary of Defense. Oh, wait. Hey, you, get over here. Or Donald Trump just picks a loyalist and somebody he thinks is smarter or as smart. No, smarter. And then all this dirty laundry comes out and he's like, oh, let me try that again. But it looks like I'm not the only one wondering how Trump picks these people. Take a listen.
The first qualification that I think Trump is looking for these nominees to have is loyalty.
Yep. I said that.
Is there such a dearth of qualified people within even the MAGA world that Donald Trump has to choose people with those kinds of disgusting, icky allegations in their backgrounds?
Icky? Come on. Use your big girl words.
Is it because he himself has those allegations and he himself has been accused of those? And does he just like that kind of company? I mean, I don't understand.
I think the bottom line is it's anyone's guess. And back to Fox News and Jesse Waters getting in all of his criticisms of Joe Biden before he sails off into the sunset.
Biden ruined his legacy in America, so he's trying to make one in Africa. Quote, an African trip probably matters more to Biden, who is searching to establish a legacy in Africa, than for Africa, which is already preparing for his successor. Here's the real reason Biden's in Africa. The media is not going to tell you this. He's building rail lines that connect mines so little African kids can dig up the minerals we need for the Green New Deal.
Why is Jesse Waters so concerned about what President Biden is doing in Africa? Oh, it's because it's your heritage, right, Jesse?
Well, the host is 0.1% African American.
Right. Be forewarned, if you're going to see Wicked, there will be a green-skinned woman who is mocked, and there will be persecution of chalking animals. Neither one of which exists in the real world, because the story of Wicked is completely fiction. I saw this headline a few days back, and then of course it got overshadowed by all the news coming out of Washington. And I kind of brushed over it because I sort of assumed that it was maybe a joke or something out of the Babylon Bee, but it wasn't.
The British Board of Film Classification has issued a trigger warning on Wicked because of potential discrimination against green-skinned women and persecution of talking animals. The warning issued on their website states a green-skinned woman is mocked, bullied, and humiliated because of her skin color. A green-skinned woman! Yeah. There is no such thing as a green-skinned woman in the real world.
Where is the future of film and screenwriting going? That's my question. Are there trigger warnings for things like Game of Thrones? I'm just curious because I saw maybe like a 2-minute clip one time a few years back, and I was horrified by the level of violence against women. It was gross. You could just be channel surfing and stumble upon Game of Thrones if you have HBO. But for a classic musical that's been on Broadway for decades, made into a movie, we need a trigger warning. I feel like the whole world is governed by TikTok influencers. That's what that feels like, right? All the people with multicolored hair screaming about the injustices of the world, or at least the injustice on social media, the world that they live in. That's what this feels like. And the fact that it's made its way into the real world is absolutely ludicrous. It's Wicked. What about Beetlejuice? Has anybody seen that movie? I mean, I thought it was great and my kids liked it. There's no trigger warning there. And, they just make it as gross as humanly possible, right? Because Beetlejuice is pretty gross. He eats bugs. I mean, is that the persecution of insects? I mean, how far do we want to take this? The whole premise is that her daughter gets sucked into the world of the undead, and in order to save her, she has to be in an arranged marriage with Beetlejuice, right? Like, where are all the trigger warnings there? I mean, where's the women's right activists talking about arranged marriages or women being forced into doing something they don't want to do in some sort of Sophie's Choice moment? I mean, come on. What I'm saying is ridiculous. And it's just as ridiculous as what they're saying about Wicked. So, I mean, it's a movie. I mean, none of these things are real. It's supposed to be entertainment. It's fiction. Maybe it's me.